Malka, were you hearing me at all till now? Malka Chana, were you hearing me? Hello? Hello, I don't think you're hearing me at all.
I can hear you, Rabbi.
Did you hear me before or just now?
Just now.
Yeah, only just now. Before we didn't hear you.
Okay, next time call me, let me know. I didn't realize it was on mute by myself. I'm sorry. So what I talked about is the lighting of the oil, and the oil was consistent. It didn't burn constantly, but it was consistent. Okay. The lesson of oil is very important. The Jewish people are compared to the oil. And what happens to oil? It rises to the top and doesn't mix well with liquids. And even if you try mixing it, if you wait a little bit, it rises again to the top. So that's the idea of us not mixing and keeping our identity. Okay. When we're at our best, we float to the top. Oil illuminates. That's Torah is compared, the light of Torah. And our job is to be a light unto the nations by living the Torah light. That's how you become a light unto the nations. A lot of Jews make the mistake of thinking that if we're at the forefront of social justice, and we're going to be at the forefront of rights for people and all that, that's being a light unto the nation. That's not exactly how it works. And unfortunately, we see it now because we had a lot of people that were very much in that realm. Thank you very much. In that realm of leading the way. And then when they turned back after October 7th, nobody was following them anymore. So it's a powerful idea. We being the best that we can be in our way, that sheds light onto the world, and that makes us a light onto the world. A important idea, which unfortunately is unfolded, is that how do you get the oil out of the olive? You need to press it. And sometimes a Jew needs to be woken up by being oppressed a little bit, and that's wakes us up a little bit about that too. So that's many people on their own don't realize, well, when they feel the pressure, then all of a sudden their identity is refocused into being the best that we can be. Now, interestingly enough, the special pressed oil was only used for the menorah. The rest of the oil could be used for the sacrifices. And one of the commentaries, Azam has a very beautiful interpretation that I'd like to share with you. He says, the fact that only the first drops of oil were permissible for use in lighting the menorah, whereas the sacrifices, the second pressing was allowed to, teaches us a profound lesson. While the Torah observant Jew in general ensures the food which the family eats is kosher, he's far less concerned with food for the intellect that enters his home in the form of literature or vis-a-vis mass media. According to the Torah view, the oil for the menorah, which represents the intellect, is only permissible if it's the purest. The oil for the menorah must be superior to the oil of the sacrifices, symbolizing nourishment. Torah insists that our minds be fed only with information that is purest and most refined. Very powerful idea, the idea of making sure the ideas that come into our head are coming from a holy source and a pure source, and not to taint our vision of what is good and what is the reality. So a lot of the Parsha is going to be dealing with the Big Day Kahuna. The Big Day Kahuna means the clothing of the high priest. So there were two types of priests. There was the general Kohen. The Kohanim were the descendants of Aaron. And the regular Kohen had 4 different types of garments. He had a shirt, pants, belt, and hat. The Kohen Gadol had 8 types of clothing that he normally wore. And we're going to go through them quickly. Asma, you have Kamashim there in front of you? Does everyone have? Go to 467, please. What? I know, but I'm going piece by piece. All right. So the 467 was showing you the pictures of the high priest of the Kohen Gadol. Who was the first Kohen Gadol? Aaron. Okay, the brother of Moshe. Okay. So here's the ephod. The ephod is like a backwards apron that had straps going over his shoulders, and on the top it had the Avnei Shoham, the Shoham stones that had the 12 tribes written, 6 on one, 6 on the other. Then there's the kisainas, the tunic with the box-like knit. Then there's a third one called the me'il. The me'il was a robe made out of blue wool, and it had bells and pomegranates on the bottom. Not real pomegranates, but made out of material. But the bells were real bells made out of gold. And that would ring when the Kohen would be walking. People would know that he's coming. Okay. Go to the next page, 469. Page 469 has the choshen, the breastplate. The breastplate was had 12 boxes in it. It would tell different beautiful stones. It had the names of the tribes engraved in them. And the breastplate was a very fascinating thing. It was it had something called the Urim V'Tumim. The Urim V'Tumim means that if they had a question, it had the divine name behind it, and they had a question about what to do, they could ask questions and it would light up. There was no computer. It was miraculous. It just lit up the letters of the answer to the question. Hello, welcome. Hello, welcome. You're not on Zoom, so I guess you're here. Diana lives in Jerusalem, and we're very pleased to have her visit. A warm welcome. You just did. Give me another one for free. Go ahead.
So there was no Hebrew alphabet.
There was a Hebrew alphabet. How is it written? Not in Russian. I'm sorry. I hate to tell it to you. It's written in Hebrew, engraved in the stones.
But so it has all of the alphabet.
That's a very good question. That was an excellent. The question she asked was, the 12 tribes, does that have all the letters of the alphabet? And the answer is no. So actually, there was some extra words. It had Avrohom, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the names of the forefathers, and Shiftei Yeshurim, the tribes of Hashem. So with those added letters, then it had all of the letters of the alphabet. That was a very good question. Yes.
So the stones on the breastplate.
Yes.
They're gems. Does every gem correspond with one of the
Tribes. Yes.
tribes?
Yes, they do. But I don't know what the significance is. I can't tell you that. Or to put it the other way is I could tell you then I have to kill you. No, I have no idea. Yeah, but there was special different gems for each tribe. Yes. On the breastplate that the Kohen Gadol wore. It was carved out of the stone. The letters were carved into the stone. Got it? You can't get it. You can't get this even in a day of drive. They don't have it.
But just by lighting up the answer, you know what the answer is.
You know what a mix-up word is? You got to figure it out.
It's a hint.
What?
It's like a hint towards the answer.
Yes, it's a hint toward the answer. You have to juggle the letters and figure it out.
So you could essentially ask a shaila, you could ask a question.
That's right. And that's a very important idea, to have someone to ask questions, because today we don't have that. I actually had a terrible story. I had someone called me with a personal question and said, Rabbi, can I, before you answer, can I ask you a personal question? I said, sure. Says, how do you know what to answer when I ask you questions? So I said, I have a rabbinic dartboard that I just, throw the darts at and whatever. And she was so upset. Said, I put my life on the line with you, and you gave us a rabbinic. I said, you could get your own. You could sell it on Amazon. No, it took me a half an hour to convince her. I was just kidding. It was just a joke. There's no rabbinic dartboard. it's hopefully divine providence that I pray to Almighty should give me the wisdom to answer properly. But initially, when I told her it was the rabbinic dartboard, she was very, very upset with me. But be that as it may, but it's very, very important to have a mentor to go to be able to ask questions. And I don't only mean about Jewish law, about Jewish life. And I'm not going to say that every time a person has a rabbi and asks the question that therefore their life is peachy and everything's wonderful. Not necessarily so. But I have seen people who don't and do their own thing make a lot of mistakes come, and there's a lot of regret. So it's sad, but that's just the way that's the way it is.
So what kind of questions would be asked, and who would have the opportunity to ask them? Could an ordinary person say?
I don't think it was, or like usually like should they go to war or not? You know what I'm saying? It was not which outfit is better. Do I look better in the green or the brown? You know what I'm saying? That's not the things they would normally ask, correct? But the idea of being able to ask is a very, very important idea. Let's see what else. Yes, you just did. You get another free one. Go ahead. Yes.
Just thinking about, like, we talk about bread. Does the rabbi feel that pressure that he might send someone in the right or the wrong direction as well? Maybe feel regret as well. Maybe thinking, hey, maybe that wasn't the right choice.
Look, I can only tell you about my own person. I can only tell you my own personal experience from the questions that I ask or people ask me. Again, I pray for divine assistance. That I should be able to guide people properly. That's I take the responsibility seriously. So, is it possible that a person, there's a great story about one of the great Hasidic masters pre-World War II, that a fellow came to him with a business question. Excuse me a second. When you get freezing, let me know. I'll turn off the air, but I just want the air to circulate a little bit. So he asked him, should he go into this business deal? And the rabbi gave him his blessing that it should be successful. He went into the business deal, and it went totally flopped. And the rabbi was very impressed that this follower of his still came back to the rabbi and still was one of his followers. And the rabbi complimented him to somebody else. See, that's a real follower of the rabbi. I gave him advice. It didn't work out. And he's still here. Now, what ended up happening is the guy lost so much money that he had to leave Poland and move to Israel. And this minor thing called World War II came in the interim. And he and his family ended up being saved because he wasn't there. So I'm not going to tell you the rabbi knew, he didn't know. That's above my pay grade as well. I'm just saying that sometimes when it looks like the advice was poor, we don't really know that for sure. But in answer to your question, which is a thoughtful question, is does a rabbi feel responsibility? The answer is yes. I'll tell you an interesting story that Jewish law dictates that that marriage is a transaction, meaning to say the husband, so to speak, gives something to the wife and, quote, for lack of a better term, acquires, and then she has to accept something, the divorce from him, for it to be nullified. And what happened was this husband left town, and the wife didn't know where he was and didn't have a divorce. And she went to the rabbi, and the rabbi said, And she said, what should I do? My husband left without a divorce, and I'm sort of stuck because I can't get remarried without the divorce. And the rabbi said, he's in the public, there's something called Haknas Sarchim, where people who are visitors need a place to stay. That's where he is. You go there and you'll find him. And sure enough, she went there, and there he was. And she was able to get him to give the divorce, and that was that. So people said, wow, what a miracle. And they went around and said, that was a miracle. How'd you know he was there? And I'll tell you how I know he was there. Because I heard someone say, oh, there's a new guy in the public Haknas Sarchim that we never saw before. So when I heard that, I said, why did Hashem make me hear that? He made me hear that probably because I could help somebody with it. And then when she came and asked where he was, I put two and two together, came up with that. So what's the condition of that? Where you make sure not to let anything that you're not supposed to be hearing in your ears. Where you don't need to know the news, and you don't need to follow everything online. So when there's one thing that you don't hear out of the ordinary that doesn't fit into your program of being holy, then he was able to associate it with. You understand what I'm saying? So that's just another angle on it, another example of that. Okay.
Rabbi,
That's me.
is your video off on purpose or
No,
not?
it's not done on purpose, and I'm sorry it is. I'm having today technical difficulties with everything. I don't know why, but now my video is on. And do you recognize my holy countenance?
It's so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, if you look on page 470, you'll see the choshen, the breastplate, folded over. So there you see the boxes with the stones in them. How many stones were there?
12.
Why 12? So tribes, very good. And the fold in the back of it is where the name of God was there that would be used to light up the letters. Got it? Okay.
Like the microchip.
That was the holy microchip. Yes, correct.
So where are the names of the forefathers?
They were also on the stones.
Ah.
No, on the same side. It's just the drawing here, you don't see it, but you can get books that have more detail. All right, page 472 has the bottom of the bells and the pomegranates, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. 473 has what the artist's rendition of what the Kohen Gadol looked like wearing all of the clothing. I mean, he had pants and a shirt and belt and hat and the apron-like and the breastplate and the blue shirt, and on top was the tzitz, which is on the upper left of 473. That he wore on his forehead. That said Kodesh Lashem, holy for God, and that's what he wore on his forehead.
Can I ask you one question going back?
Yes, you can.
To the breastplate. When they put the name of God behind the breastplate in a special section?
Yes, that's the folders. That's what I'm showing you in the Chumash. Yes.
And is that what gave it power? Is like
That's
sort
correct.
of like the battery power?
That was the celestial power pack.
So what name of God did they put in there? Which one did they put?
I don't recall. I'd have to look. I think it was this. I don't remember. I'd have to look into it. I don't remember which name was there.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. I just want to jump back for a second. We talked about the oil, and we said it was kasis lamor, squeezed for lighting. So the word kasis is spelled kaf saf yud saf. Numerical value of that has the two temples. the Yud Saf, the 410 was the first temple, and the Kaf Saf 420 was the amount of years of the second temple. Okay, so that's it's off now. It'll be okay.
Where were those written? The
The what?
you said what you just said that they alluded to the amount of years that the temple
That's the
survived.
word in the Parsha, in the Torah, where it says that the oil was kasses lamar, was squeezed for lighting, right at the beginning of the Parsha.
Oh, okay.
First verse. Okay. The word kasses had the numerical value. Now, a beautiful interpretation. Why was Aaron worthy to wear the breastplate on his heart? Because when Hashem said that Moshe would be the one leading the people out, and Moshe was his younger brother, he had no ill feeling, including in his heart. He said, I'm very happy Moshe is the leader, and he didn't say, hey, what about me? What am I, chopped liver? I've been leading the Jewish people in Egypt all the time, but he didn't feel that, but he was very happy that his brother got it. And because his heart was correct that way, he got to wear the breastplate over his heart, the name of God. God loves humility, and therefore that's why he merited to have it. Now, each of the yes.
So Aaron went into the temple as a Kohen.
Yes, one of the, yeah, sure. He was the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. Yes, for sure.
But Moshe never did, right?
I'm not saying Moshe never did. We'll get to that. There was a time Moshe trained them that he did. You know, when he was training them, but Moshe was not the Kohen. He was a Levite, a Levi. The clothes, by the way, atoned for sins. If you'd like a better picture, we can. You don't have the article or a larger version of it here. You can see the 8 different types of clothing that the Kohen Gadol wore. Look up here.
He didn't have any kind of foot covering? He's
No,
barefoot?
they were barefoot in the Mishkan and in the temple. They were barefoot.
There's an idea of like wearing shoes in the house, and when you don't have shoes, it's like if you're bereaved or something like that. Is that?
That's a separate story. That relates to a mourner doesn't wear leather, so he doesn't wear shoes. But here it's the opposite. You're in the presence of. There's a very nice interpretation when God revealed himself to Moshe. He told him to take his shoes off.
Mhm.
And the reason for that, one of the commentators is a beautiful interpretation. It was because shoes represent our dominance over creation. Because where do shoes come from? Leather. Where does leather come from? Animals. Where do animals come from? There's because the different levels of a hierarchy. There's the inanimate objects. There's the animal kingdom. There's plants, and there's the animal kingdom, and then man. So the animals eat off the grass. The grass gets nourishment from the ground. So if you look for the restroom, go down, make a right, and then a left.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So man wearing shoes represents man's dominance on creation, and man's supposed to be on top of creation, but in the presence of God, that's not when you're dominant. So that's why when God appears to Moshe, he tells him to take off his shoes, and also in the temple, the Kohanim didn't wear shoes.
In a Jewish home, people are supposed to be barefoot also, like.
No, why?
No, so normally people have, like, like.
Some people are very crazy about the carpets and the floors. I'm not talking about that, but from a Jewish perspective, no, shoes are fine. Just the opposite. You don't want to wear socks because that's like a mourning thing.
It's more customary.
Yeah, many people. Yeah, I would say that. Yes.
The Kohanim, how did?
I'm sorry?
How did they come to that level?
To be a Kohen?
Yeah.
My application is in. It's been rejected many times. I'll tell you how it become. You become a Kohen born by birth, with one exception we'll have in a few months. But other than that, Pinchas. But other than that, it's a birthright. It's which we'll talk about soon. It's being a descendant of Aaron.
Right, but is there any they have to study?
Yeah, they have to train. Age 25 to 30, they had to train before they got to do the work. Correct. Yeah.
So King David, like on a level of holiness, he wasn't there, right? Like, he wouldn't be holy enough to go into the temple.
No, he was the king. It's a separate story. No, different kind of holiness. We'll talk about. Actually, we'll get to it a little bit. It's related to something in the Parsha as well. But let's talk about some of the clothing. The clothing atoned for different things. For example, the shirt atoned for murders not prosecuted, the pants for immorality, sexual immorality, the me'il for speaking ill because it made noise and it was quiet. So you have to know when to be talking, when not to be talking. The hat was for arrogance. The belt for improper thoughts of the heart. The choshen, perverted judgment, and the ephod, idol worship. So
What are those items?
those are the different.
The last two that you said.
The choshen was the breastplate that was for false judgment, improper thoughts of the heart, and the ephod was the apron-like that was for idol worship. The Chavetz Chaim said the Chavetz Chaim who wrote a very powerful, important work about not speaking ill about others. So he gives a great example. I don't remember what a telegram is. Yeah. Okay. So when you want to write a telegram, what are you careful about very much?
How many words were letters?
How many letters and words you put in, right? Because you're paying. So that's how we should live life. Watch what we say. Think before we say, because every letter counts. We're charged for every letter. So that's his parable for watching out not to speak ill about other people. Very, very powerful parable for that. Now, what about the Levium, the Levites? Did they have special garments? And the answer, when I asked this in a class one time, someone said, yes, they wore Levi's. Levi's? It was a good line. But they didn't. Why didn't they? Because they were more external. The more internal something is, the more garments, if you will, it needs. For example, the Torah scroll is always covered with material and then put into the ark, which is also closed. The concept of modesty is a very important idea. The same idea of what's appropriate to be exposed, what's appropriate not to be exposed. Unfortunately, many times on performances, they have something called a wardrobe malfunction, which makes it sound like it's a mechanical failure. You have to choose what you wear so you don't have wardrobe malfunctions. That's an important idea. It's a great story about a woman her name is Wendy Shallot. She had a very fascinating journey. She was a attractive secular Jewish woman who the university she was in decided that they're going to make unisex bathrooms. And she was very unhappy with this idea. And she did some research and did homework and wrote an article about why that's a bad idea. Not modest, not appropriate. We're not talking about gender dysphoria here now, okay? Let's not mix up our different crazinesses. This is earlier craziness, okay? And she wrote an article about it, and it got a lot of press. I think it was written up in Commentary Magazine. And then she evolved that into a book, which was Return to Modesty. And then she learned about the laws of modesty within the Jewish community. And that's what sparked her to become religious. Just not the usual route that people would take to come to Judaism. And I have it in my notes. I'm not sure if that's the subtitle, Girls Gone Wild instead of wild. Because the idea in Judaism is that a person's supposed to be dressed appropriately, attractive, but not attracting. It's a very big difference. Everything in its time and place. So each of the items of clothing had a deep spiritual impact that forgave for sins for the Jewish people. So I'd like to talk about two more things when we have the time. So here you have I just want to point out one more thing that you can look at a drawing. At the very end of the portion, page 482, is the other altar, not the alter ego, that's something else. The other altar, we said, was we had an altar last week, which was what? I'm sorry? Copper, yeah? And what was it used for? For the sacrifices. And there was another one that was in the yard, but inside the Mishkan was another altar made out of gold, and it was used for incense. And on page 482, you have a drawing of it. And it had poles to hold it. And for those of you who don't have the Chumash, it's this right here. So, what's the purpose of incense? Huh? I can't hear. The aroma. I mean, there was a lot of deeper aspects of it. But from the simple level, the incense creates a lovely atmosphere, right? And that's something that we have to work on within our own environment. Are we creating an environment of holiness? What we allow in and what we don't allow in. A couple asked me many years ago to go visit them at their home. They had questions about where to put up the mezuzah, this and that, and this. And they had a picture on the wall that someone had given them of the Beatles. And I said, time to take that off. It says, why? We got a present. I said, I know. That's not your role models. The Beatles are not your role models. Put up pictures of great rabbis. That's the pictures you're supposed to have. And, you know, we bought them a picture with a book about Nosson Finkel, a very special Jew. So that's what they have in place, because that's who the role models have to be. So we have to watch out who our role models are. What we talk about, having family meals together. Wild concept. I know somebody in the neighborhood who works for a major entertainment company, and he's a religious man, and his boss is not, and he's a family man. And when he came to this man's house for Shabbos meal, he said, wow, you have a dining room table? The man didn't own a dining room table because they're busy sitting watching some stuff with the kids on the computers, whatever, when they're having meals together. A family meal together, they didn't know what is. He never saw that before, which is very sad. Okay, now this is a quiz, and maybe you'll remember, maybe you won't. These are the things that we talked about last week and a little bit this week. This was the Aron, the ark. This is the shulchan, the table, the menorah, and now this week we have the incense offering. Which ones have the gold crown around it?
Golden altar?
Which one have a little crown on the edge?
Golden altar.
The altar, the ark, and the table. Okay? And they represent, our sages tell us, the crown of Torah, the crown of kingship, and the crown of Kohanim of service. Everyone with me so far? You're not with me.
How are they related?
The crown of Torah. Why would the Aron be related to Torah?
That I get, but. the
Okay,
other-
how? Tell us, say it. Let us know.
Well, I get the, crown of ark for Torah, but.
Because it had the 10 tablets in it.
What about kingship? What does that mean?
Because this is physical. They had bread, it had food, it had food. And here was the incense was the service that the Kohen did. Okay. So which crown is the best crown? Most important crown? Huh? Why? Okay, so the ark of kingship, that's only from the family of David, King David. My application for king of Israel rejected as well, because I'm not from the family of David. The crown of being a Kohen, not everybody can associate with that either. Why not? You have to be a descendant of Aaron. The crown of Torah, anybody can get it. What do you have to do?
Be Jewish.
No.
Read the Bible.
Study, and then study some more. Okay. So that's a beautiful idea there too. All right. Let's talk about the question that I started with. Why is Moshe's name missing from the portion? So what happened was there's the sin of the golden calf, correct? There's the sin of the golden calf, which we're going to get to, God willing, hopefully next week, which is another story, which we'll find out more about next week. And God wanted to destroy the Jewish people. And Moshe said, if you're going to get rid of them, then take me out of the book as well. I don't want to be in the book. I quit. All right. So number one lesson is watch your words. Words have meaning and power. So Hashem removed him from one portion of the Torah, and that's Parshat Tezaveh. Why out of all portions is it that? Well, first of all, the 7th day of the Hebrew month of Adar was when Moshe was born and when he died. So that usually falls out to be that week. So the week that Moshe's death has the portion that his name isn't there. Another answer is Moshe initially was supposed to be Kohen Gadol, but he lost that and his brother Aaron got it. So this is about the Kohen Gadol's clothing, so he's taken out of that portion. Another answer is Macheni me sifrech, take me out of your book. Me sifrech, me sefer chaf. Chaf is 20, from the 20th portion. That's why Hashem said, Misifrach, you want to be out of the book, you'll be out of portion 20, which is Parshat Tezaveh, this week's portion. And then on a positive view, his self-sacrifice for the Jewish people made Moshe become part of the Torah. The beginning of the Parsha begins, Va'ata Tezaveh, and you should command. Doesn't even say Moshe's name. You became part of the Torah because you're willing to sacrifice yourself for the Jewish people. Moshe didn't have to worry about the sin of the golden calf. He didn't do anything wrong. But he stood up for the Jewish people. So God said, now you become so attached to the Torah, you become at one with it. And therefore your name will not be mentioned in this week's portion. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? The floor is open. Zoom is open. Just unmute yourself.
Hi, Rabbi Czapnik.
Hi, how you doing, Michael?
I haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you again.
I don't see you because your picture isn't up there, but good to have you on. How's St. Louis treating you?
I'm in Detroit right now.
This is the second time I think I made that mistake. How
Hi.
you doing?
Okay. We've
Good.
had an exciting football season here with the Detroit Lions. We beat your Los Angeles Rams in
Isn't
the
that
playoffs.
news? And you're rubbing it in. Great, thank you very much.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, no problem. I'm not a fan, but it's good for you. Glad you enjoyed that. Good.
And also my alma mater, University of Michigan, became the #1 team in the country. They won the championship. So we
Should
were
I
the
say
cat.
Mazel Tov? I want to know if your shul got a kiddush out of it. That's what I want to know. Was there any
Oh.
benefit done?
I think every shul got a kiddush out of it.
Well, we didn't get one, so if you want to sponsor Jay Elite,
When I come to visit, for sure.
all right, no problem. Very good.
All
Good to
right.
see you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the class.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Yes.
Was the same pieces they wore every time they walked in, it wasn't like special clothing for the holidays.
No. Well, you're asking a good question. There was a time once a year that the Kohen Gadol didn't wear gold, which we're going to get to next week a little bit. I'll mention this because he had to go into the Holy of Holies. He didn't wear gold, which we'll talk about. Remind me next week. I'll
But the
mention.
other days-
But all the other days of the year was the same.
And so they did wear gold and jewels.
Yes. Yeah.
The 12 stones,
Yes.
they all had a different name, right? Topaz, turquoise.
Yeah. Right. Correct.
In our reverence to Hashem, can we say that certain materials bring us closer to Hashem? For example, here, the gems.
No, because that's not relevant to us. I don't want you to start walking around with a Kohen's breastplate with different stones. I'm a official Kohen now. No, it doesn't work that way. No, the connection to Hashem has to do with your heart and your mind and your actions, not with the stones. The Kohen Gadol had a special job in the temple to wear that. Yeah.
Why did
Stuff.
Kohen Gadol, because he complained too much. He didn't want to go down to. Questions? Anybody else? Yeah.
So Moshe goes into Egypt to learn, right?
To learn?
At one point.
No.
Well, he leaves the like Pharaoh and all this, right? He goes into Egypt where he.
No. He's in Egypt with Pharaoh, runs away from Egypt to save his life because he's going to be killed if he
And
hangs
that's when
around.
he encounters God, right?
That's where he goes and meets Yisro. He gets married to his daughter and taking care of the sheep. God appears to him. Yes.
I'm just
And then
wondering-
God sends him back down to Egypt to try to get the Jews out.
He learned, I'm just wondering, he learned in a Jewish way, he learned from Israel in a Jewish way, or like.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to formulate the question, but because he was one of the original teachers, Judaism, right?
Yeah, but that's later on after he got the Torah. That's when he was
But
really.
he was receiving it from.
He got it from God on Mount Sinai. He was there for 40 days and 40 nights.
His answer.
Yeah.
When did the use of incense stop being used in Mishkan
Yeah.
and why?
It didn't stop. As long as the temple was around, it was there. It was used.
But we don't use it today. I mean,
No, because we don't have a temple. We don't have a temple.
So why do we have a Ner Tamid?
A Ner Tamid is just a custom. It's just, Yeah,
So the plate itself.
Which
where
plate?
The stones, the breastplate.
Yeah.
Where the stones were set. What material it was?
different material, different. It says it in the Parsha. It talks about it was woven, very closely woven.
Also, it's a couple of materials.
Yeah, put together, woven together. Yeah,
Levim are the descendants of Moshe versus Kohanim.
no, some of them would be from Moshe as well, but the Levium, Levi had 3 children, Gershon, Kahas, and Merari. So all of the Levium come from one of those 3 children. But Moshe came from Kahas, and so some of them would be descendants of him, but it would also be from the other sons of Levi. Yes, you're doing fine. We'll help you, and we have a special Russian translator to help us with how to say it. What? A Kohen, yeah. Yes.
It's like a higher human beings.
Could be, but they have to live up to that. They have high responsibility. Hi. Hello.
So the name goes from one generation to another generation.
No, it wasn't their name. It was a title.
Where is this?
Yes, from father to son.
But it doesn't mean that son is the same quality of.
It may not be. It depends. Depends. Some yes, some not.
They don't
But-
have the last name. Oh, and they could
No,
be-
no, I understand this. I don't mean by the last name. I mean by the title.
Yeah.
But the lady can be Cohen too. or-
Well, she's the daughter of a Cohen, so she has some rights because she was the daughter of a Cohen. At the times, we'll learn about that. They had special foods that they could eat, so the daughter could eat some of those special foods while she was still married to a daughter of a Cohen or married to a Cohen. Yeah.
Is that lineage important today? How is it relevant today?
Well, the Kohanim have special laws. They can't become impure by going to funerals, except for immediate family cannot go. They can't be in a room where that person is. The Kohen is called up first to the Torah. The lady's called up second.
How do you know what your lineage is?
That's the person has to know. If he doesn't know, he doesn't know. Then so I joke around. I say I'm a certified non-Kohen because my parents were not. My grandparents were not Kohanim, so I know I'm not a Kohen. But usually we don't always know. A person have to look. Sometimes you look at a tombstone of a great grandfather, and they see the hands that represent what a Kohen has. So that indicates that there probably was a Kohen there. It's hard to know today because today there's a lot of confusion. People think they're Kohanim, they're not Kohanim. Yeah,
Good question.
yes,
So the car.
wholesale. Yeah, go ahead.
Israelites, is that how you pronounce it? And then Levi, and then a Cohen.
Yes.
Right, but then they have more right, like Levi have some right.
Yes, again, in the temple time. Today, it's not really that relevant. Yeah.
But the Cohens, they have special prayers and shul.
Yes, they give the Cohen's blessings. Yeah.
The other question I'm unrelated. The Jewish men are not supposed to wear jewelry today, like they don't not supposed to wear gold necklaces, bracelets.
It's custom. It's not a law. That's not. Yeah.
Does the box lady, women have any, the box lady, do they have to, they like the.
Not today. Today, no. Today, the Bascom doesn't have anything either. Any other questions? Going once.
I'm sorry, can I have more?
Yes,
You
please.
said that there is hands that represent Kohanim.
No, on the tombstone, what happens is the Kohanim bless the congregation on holidays. In Israel, sometimes they do it every day, but they have a hands in a certain shape. So that symbol would indicate, they don't have to have it on their tombstone. They could just say he was a Kohen. They could say the words HaKohen,
Why in Israel do they bless every day and here we don't bless?
Different
every day?
customs, different customs.
Also, when did they wear all these fancy clothing? Was it just
The
for-
fancy clothing depended on the event. No, it was when they went into the Mishkan, when they went into the Beis Hamikdash, when they went into.
Was it like they were chosen for that day, like where they were doing?
No,
their
the
turn?
Kohen Gadol was a job that he had. It was a lifetime job.
So this was just for the Kohen Gadol when
Yes,
he's
the Kohen
serving in the
Gadol
temple.
wore special clothing just for the service when he was in the service, and the Kohen Gadol wore the special clothing when he went in for the service.
So the rest of the Kohanim didn't have to wear clothing that was this kind of.
No, they had special clothing when they went in. Oh, by the way, just a side thing, very interesting side halacha that we get. Remember I mentioned that the Kohen Gadol had bells?
Yeah.
On his on the Me'il, there were bells. We learned an interesting law out of this. When a person comes into a house, just like the Kohen was.
Not right now.
Hello?
Thanks.
When the Kohen,
sorry.
when the Kohanim would be walking, people could hear them coming because of the bells ringing. Before we walk into a house, even our own house, we should knock on the door first. So that no one should be startled when we walk in, and no one, if someone's not dressed appropriately, they should get dressed appropriately. So we learn, it's an example of that from the Kohen himself, that when he was walking, people knew he was coming. When before we enter a place, we should also make sure to let people know we're coming in. Okay, anything else?
Yes,
Yeah.
if, oh,
One second.
Learn that, when
that's a good question.
you're years old, when say when everyone should stand up, right?
Yes,
Is that applied for women and men the same way?
yeah, anybody who's older, yes. Yes, Malka.
Oh, if the daughter of a Kohen marries someone who is not a Kohen, is there any significance there?
Yeah, well, there is, not now, but in the times of the temple, they lose the right of eating from from what the Cohen's portion would be.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great week, everybody. All the best. Thank you.
Thanks, Rabbi.
What,
Thanks,
what
Rabbi.
did, what did the other Kohanim wear besides the Kohen Gadol?
Pants, shirt, hat, belt when they were doing the service. They
But-
wore 4 as opposed to 8.
And the Levium didn't have to wear anything special
You
at all.
didn't have to wear anything special, correct? You're welcome.
And the Kohen, you said, didn't have shoes on ever.
I didn't say ever. I said when he was in the temple, none of the Kohanim wore shoes in the temple.
But the Levium did? The Levi could?
It's a good question. I'm not sure. Take care.
Okay.
Question, did the Levium have musical training?
Did the Levium have what?
Musical training.
Whoever wanted to play the music had musical training.
Weren't they responsible for the music?
Yeah. I guess they had time to learn when they were younger. They were taught.
Pretty cool. Okay.
Connie, how you doing? Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I guess I owe you a phone call.
My pleasure. Take care. All the best.
Thanks.
If I can help, don't hesitate.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
take care. All the best. Malka, take care. Small. Michael.
Be well, everybody.
You too. Take care.